That's good enough for right now. It's time to impart some tips and tricks for those raiding monks in
Fists of Fury. It's go time.
Alright, so we have two new bosses on the menu today. First one is Rise Mountain Tectus. This one's fun. I love doing this one as Windwalker.
I actually enjoy this fight. It's probably mean of me, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, because we don't play ranged. Ranged is like chicken with your head cut off most of the time. For melee, especially Mistweaver is like so bloody easy on this fight. It's fantastic. Well, let's go first to Brewmaster. We're just gonna go over some tips and tricks for you monks out there. We're not gonna go over like strategy, anything like that. Just kind of some tips specifically for monks. So go ahead, why don't you?
So, kind of the first thing that I always recommend is be the tank that takes the motes. So when he breaks down into 4, be that tank to grab him. The main reason I say that is, I guess it depends on your co-tank, but I rip the aggro from my co-tank where I'll end up with like 2 or 3 motes and the shard. So if it be that one, just grab all 4, round them up nice, and that works a lot. That helped our team finally take it down. Our other tank was taking them, and I'm like, look, let's try switching this up. Let me grab them, so that way I'm expected to be taking the damage from the 4, and that just cleared it all up. So that's kind of like the first thing I would recommend. In terms of talents, I take momentum. Because when all those giant pillars start showing up and you have to get out of places quick, the roll with extra speed on the end really helps to do that. Because it's just nice and easy, gets you going, gets you out of the way where you need to be. If on the beginning you're taking the orc ads, pop down your ox statue to help pick up those ads. That helps a ton as well. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it.
Any
in terms
glyphs?
Of like,
any glyphs you use differently?
No, nothing really differently. I mean, you want to make sure. You want to make sure that you're not taking the glyph of guard because you want
too much physical damage going out. Yeah.
Too much physical damage. Other than that, just kind of your basic glyphs. Nothing really too picky when it comes to the glyphs on this fight because it's being physical damage.
All right, well, we're going to take a look at Mistweavers here. This one is super fun as a Mistweaver because you don't have to worry about any of the ranged mechanics. Just go stand in melee on this one. Don't worry about Crystalline Barrage or the mountains. You just have to sidestep those little pools that pop up.
You still have to worry a little bit about Crystalline Barrage.
Not if your tanking team is doing it right and facing it the right way. You should never have to deal with Crystalline Barrage until you get all sorts of the motes out, and then at that point it gets a little messy. But this fight also has a fist weaving opportunity through the first phase, and not much damage going out, assuming you have someone else doing tank healing, which you usually do. So good opportunity to fist weave through the first phase until tectonic upheaval is right about to go off. Then you need to switch out, do your renewing mist, get everybody topped up because that's a lot of damage going out if you're not quick on the DPS. One note here is your statue. You're going to have to be constantly aware of where that statue is. You want to be putting it in the range team because they are the ones taking most of the damage. So you want to be moving that as they move around the area, especially when the motes start coming up and they start getting hectic. Make sure to put it somewhere close to where range is typically stacked. For talents and glyphs on this one, Diffuse Magic is an obvious choice. This is going to save you if you have to move through that barrage mist, which can happen a lot, so you can pop that and walk through it no problem. And Zhuen, oh my god, this guy is fantastic when the motes are up. Because if you stack them all together, he does AoE damage that turns into eminence, which turns into mass healing, and that's when most of the damage is going out, and so it's kind of a wonderful counter to that mechanic. So Zhuen is fantastic for Mistweavers here. And I'm assuming it's going to be fantastic for every spec. You're just going to want Zhuen on this fight. Okay, alright, going into Windwalker. Duke.
Chi explosion on the mountain. That's what this fight is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely take Chi explosion. Just get used to it. It kind of, I really hate the way Chi explosion feels so damn slow. Mm-hmm. But you can't deny the numbers that you're putting out when everything has a giant dot ticking on it because it took a huge wallop. Yep. So, Storm, Earth, and Fire is also really great if you're into lazy monk mode, because basically all you do is when an ad comes out, you put a clone on it and you just keep pounding, a mountain ankle. Mm-hmm. And those ads have so little health, they'll drop real quick, because most other people, usually the range, switch over and nuke them real quick too. Save Xuen for the moats, just like Mistweaver. Probably just like Brewmaster. You want Xuen with the moats because he's just going to tear into a single moat while everyone else is tearing into that same one and eat the damn mountain alive.
Yeah.
And then when he's done, it's like, I want more. Time for you too. And he will just chew through, and he will stay up long enough to help you with all 4 of the moats, as long as your team's doing pretty decent DPS.
Yeah, and that's also the point where you usually will have heroism or time warp, and so even stronger on there. It's
exactly.
This is the
as soon as the moats come up. As soon as the moats come up, somebody's going to cast heroism. That's where you do Storm, Earth, and Fire on the moats. Now, what you want to do is put a clone on whichever one is designated as the skull, your first target. I like to target a moat that's going to stay up a while just so I can keep tossing out the clones.
Yeah.
Spinning Crane Kick, because you've got so much haste building at that point. Chi Explosion, Xuen, add all 3 together, and those moats don't stand a chance. They're going to go down extraordinarily quick. Sometimes so fast you still have heroism going.
Right.
As far as for talents and glyphs, like I said, you want Chi Explosion. Tiger's Lust is really good for getting around, especially if you need to dive through Crystalline Barrage real quick. I actually find that Dampen Harm can be helpful on Crystalline Barrage if you need to take a couple of hits, because it's physical damage.
Right.
It's not magical damage.
No, it's not magic.
Yeah. Yeah, everything else is nature damage. Crystalline Barrage is physical damage. So if you need to move through, say that you've got a really bad area, because your range don't know how to move because they're not monks, hit Dampen Harm, run through it. You'll take a couple of hits, but for the most part, it won't be the big damaging hits.
Right.
So Xuen for single target.
I would be interested to see here. You mentioned Spinning Crane Kick, and I've noticed I don't have huge haste levels yet, so this might be why I'm not doing this. But I'm not using Spinning Crane Kick at all. I'm saving all of my chi for dogs. Yeah, saving all of my chi for Chi Explosion. And so I wonder. I'm parsing really, really well on Tectus, so I would like to see a difference between those.
Well, what you're going to want to do is most tanks will put the moats all together, right?
Right.
So that's where you want to use Spinning Crane Kick, is right at the beginning when you've got at least 3 of the moats up. While you have the 3 moats up, you're going to be gaining chi every time you do Spinning Crane Kick. You're only gaining 1,
right?
But it's Spinning Crane Kick times your 3 clones, and then once you get up high enough, you do a Chi Explosion. Here's the interesting thing. The amount of times you have to Spinning Crane Kick 3 times will last you the whole Chi Explosion dot, which means that you're not clipping it.
Right. But you want at that point to be hitting 4.
True. Sorry, 4.
Yeah, you need 4.
I said 3.
Right.
Yeah, so you're going to do Spinning Crane Kick 3 times. That's about 6 seconds, and that's about how long the Chi Explosion dot lasts.
Okay.
You'll only be clipping the last second and a half, but it'll be rolled over into the new dot.
So, Callie and Hina, if you were listening, I would love to see a spreadsheet of someone who is just using Jab, not using Spinning Crane Kick, filling in Rising Sun Kick, and spending it on Chi Explosion versus Spinning Crane Kick and Chi Explosion. I would like to see that.
Yeah, just for the moats. Just for the moats. That's the only time you can really use it. And honestly, that's the only time you can really use Spinning Crane Kick in the entire freaking instance.
Right. Yes, Guanshu?
I was just going to say, and I get hate from LeBlue for this all the time because I like Chi Explosion as a tank. But this fight, it helps a lot if your DPS is still kind of getting up there and they're still a little low in gear. Because when you bring in the motes, you can then start using it at 4 Chi and AoEing and doing a lot of AoE damage to help out your DPS.
Right.
So, kind of the normal casual where you're bringing in those people that might be a little undergeared. It helps a ton to get those motes down because you need to get them down as quick as possible.
Yeah, those motes, that is the hardest part of the fight.
Especially the first set of them.
Yeah, the first set. Once you get to the second set, it's much, much easier. It's downhill. All right, let's move on to